I've been thinking a lot about AI in music, and I don't actually believe that AI will destroy the music industry by default. I think it can only do that if we let it. Because music at its core isn't just sound, or at least not to a giant base of people who love music. There are two different types of listeners. There are listeners who just want to hear something in the background while they're cleaning or while they're driving down the road or whatever. There are those people where it's the sound that they're looking for. But there is a lot of people who really love music because of the human connection that they're able to obtain through listening to that song. It's knowing that another person felt something that you went through, that you felt too, love or pain, joy or anger, and they turned it into something that you could feel too, that you could listen to and you could go, I relate to this. Wow, that pain. I totally know that pain. And it's knowing that another human being felt the same kind of pain that you have felt, or the same kind of joy, the same kind of love, that ends up creating a connection between the person who made music and the person who is listening to the music. And I feel like that connection is the point. In fact, I think if you go back in history, all throughout the history of the American music business, you will discover that the music industry was never selling music. Really. They were selling human connection. And they were selling it in the same way that even sports was selling it. So let me cook. Babe Ruth, right? For those of you who might understand baseball, Babe Ruth was, one of the best home run hitters that ever lived. He had all the records back in the day. He was amazing. Of course, he had some downsides, he had alcohol issues. We all know about the downsides to Babe Ruth. But the point of the story is that Babe Ruth was beloved. He ended up becoming the first American to be paid more money than the president. And people didn't hate him. They loved him. And the reason why was because he would go around to orphanages around the country, because he himself was from an orphanage. And he would donate time and money and clothes, shoes, all kinds of stuff to these orphanages. And people saw that. And that made America love Babe Ruth. And people's love for Babe Ruth and that connection that they felt to Babe Ruth is what brought a lot of people to baseball. And Babe Ruth was single-handedly responsible for really exploding baseball to a huge, to the huge degree that it had blown up to. Because people weren't loving Babe Ruth because he could hit a ball with a stick very far. Sure, that was what he did, and it was cool to watch, but they identified with him on a human level. And music is the same thing. When Alice in Chains come out and they sing Rooster, there is somebody sitting at home listening to that who had a grandfather or an old uncle that was in the Vietnam War, and they're feeling that. They're feeling those words. They're feeling that pain. When they're listening to Nine Inch Nails, when they're listening to Tupac Shakur talk about Dear Mama, and be able to identify, man, I grew up with a mom that I probably didn't appreciate as much. There was a single mom. And this is the stuff that made music so huge. It wasn't the sound. It wasn't noise. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't exist that there aren't people that literally don't care about the human connection of it and would just rather listen to beautiful sounds. People that want to listen to soundscapes or things to go to sleep to, or maybe they like film score type sound. But even the film score, a lot of times it's the scene that it played in that you're relating to, and the music that gave that scene an emphasis. And so now you tie that music to the feeling you felt when you saw that scene, which is another form of human connection. um, but I'm sure that there's people who like to just sweep the floor and do the dishes while there's sound in the background, or go to a dance club and get drunk and party and hang out and dance on the dance floor where there's sound over the sound system. I don't think that people are in the club dancing, trying to have human connection moments with the music that's coming over the speakers. And here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud is that technology in the past has already hurt music. Illegal downloading, back in the days of, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting what it was called. The Kazaa before Kazaa, when people were just, illegally downloading music. There was that. And then, of course, there was streaming and, iTunes and Spotify and all these things that came out later, which basically train listeners to expect an infinite amount of music for literally no money or almost no money, $10 a month or something. And that was an incentive problem because there are a lot of people that want to be able to get that human connection, but to be able to do it affordable and do it cheap, sure, you had people's attention. Did it hurt the music industry? Absolutely. But did the consumer want to listen to music but get that human connection cheaply? They did. And so for that reason, those things hurt the music industry, definitely. But one thing that nobody asked for was to devalue the artist. Consumers everywhere weren't like, man, I just wish that a robot could make music so I could just listen to an endless sea of music without ever having to hear about an artist or relate to a person or a human being. That never happened. Giving them convenience and music volume for a cheap price. Yeah, we had a system that rewarded that behavior 1,000%. But even then, the artists and the companies that were loaning money, they really didn't stop doing it. So even though the streaming industry, it adapted, the streaming industry and downloading and all that stuff, the music industry had to adapt, but it didn't really kill it. Probably hurt the amount of overall money that it brought in or that it used to bring in because it changed how people listen to music. Went from obviously 8-track or cassette tapes or 8-track to cassette tapes to CDs. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, we're just going to stream music. So yeah, it had to adapt. But at no point during this process did anybody say, hey, can we remove the human element from music? Let's remove the human element. No one ever asked for music with no story, no struggle behind it. No lived experience that you're talking from. Nobody asked for music that can't relate back to them. And AI only music kind of risks crossing that line. In fact, I generated a song on Suno not too long ago. It was a rock song. I wrote the lyrics, but I had to generate the music. And it was really good. I mean, it was really, really good. The singing was insane. The music was just, woo, it was nuts. And I played it for a very good friend of mine, this girl that I know that loves rock and roll. And I didn't tell her at first. I just played her the song. I said, you got to listen to this new rock song. And I played it for her, and she listened to it, and it was gut-wrenching. I mean, the lyrics were gut-wrenching, the power behind it, the explosiveness when the chorus erupted with guitars. It was just beautiful. It was epic. She listened to the whole thing and was emotionally moved. She was emotionally moved. And I remember being like, man, this is crazy because I made this song in under 20 seconds, 15 seconds. Like, it took me no time to do it. And I mean, it took me longer to write the lyrics, but I'm saying, like, copy and pasting it in this thing and waiting for it to make the song took like 10 seconds. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, she's really affected by this. And I'm like, you really like this song, huh? She's like, oh my God, this is one of the best songs I've ever heard. That voice. Oh, this music is insane. Who is this? And then came the question. And I looked at her and I said, I'll be honest with you, it's actually nobody. It's AI. I made this with AI. She went, what? She couldn't believe it. Really? AI made this? Oh my God. AI is way ahead. Wow. I can't believe like AI is like this good and blah, 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 blah. She couldn't believe it. And after we were done hanging out and she got out of my car, a little while after, on my way driving home, I stopped at a red light and I texted her. I said, by the way, do you want me to send you a copy of the song? You know what she said? She sent back, no, it was a great song, but now that I know that there wasn't really like a person attached to it, it kind of ruined it for me. So no, I don't need a copy. That's what she said. Because there's no one with a story. There's no one who had an experience that you can relate to. There's not an actual individual that had a lived experience, and that went through that real pain. That there's no one there. It's a robot. And so I think that even though AI music is good, and again, I'm not saying that, AI music sucks, because you can make some great songs with it, but it serves the human loop. Incentives still matter. You know what I mean? It's like, if you don't put your money into AI generated music, if you don't stream it, buy it, or support it, then it doesn't win. So, for instance, if you're putting Spotify on or YouTube and just running a playlist of songs that you don't even know what they are, just new content, and letting it play in the background, then you are probably contributing to money being made by people who are making AI music. Sure. If you're using AI to make instrumentals and songs as a DJ, sure, that's great. Who cares? No one cares in the club. They just want to dance. They don't care if it's real. But people who are looking for connection through music, people who are wanting to hear music come from a person that they can identify with and go, oh my God, this person and I have a lot in common. They're singing about pain I've gone through. AI can't do that and will never do that. And markets respond to behavior. And I think that AI music will become its own thing. There'll be a place for AI music. It'll be a new kind of a genre, I guess you could say, a subsection of the market of people that are like, okay, cool, AI music. But if people, if the audience, if the listener who's looking for human connection, which I would argue is the vast majority of those listeners, if they go to Google you and find out you're not real, if they don't see a real person, if they can't go and watch you perform live, and they don't actually, and they can quantify that you're not a person, you're going to lose. Markets respond to behavior. And so people, I think, the question will come, you'll have people going, you know what? I've been thinking, do I really want to support streaming? If you go all the way back to music's original time periods, way back when, all throughout human history, when there was no recorded music, to appreciate music, you had to be present. You had to be present at a place where music was being played. Period. There was no recorded music. And then once there was a way to record music, it became convenient. it was like, oh my God, I don't actually have to go somewhere to watch this music or to listen to this music. I can get something, some sort of device that will play back to me this recorded music so I can listen to it when I want to at home rather than like having to go to a thing. And it was recorded at first to tape, which became very difficult to augment. And then over time, they figured out how to splice tape and you could get rid of some of the imperfections. And there were complaints about that too. There were people like, oh, recorded music, you know, they're splicing tape. How do you know that they played it that well or that good, right? There was arguments about that. And then, of course, the device changed and it was no longer tape. It went to digital. It went from, 8 tracks to cassette tapes to now CDs. And recordings were being recorded on computer. And then through computer and software, it began to, well, now how do you even know somebody can sing? Auto tune. Now we can't even tell if somebody can sing or if they have rhythm. There's rhythm correction software, right? And people began to question the legitimacy of music more and more and more as technology began to change. And then when the platform changed to streaming and the consumers were listening to the streams and going, oh, hey, yeah, okay, cool. I could listen to music over and over and over again all day long for $9.99, and much of which there's so much content, I don't even know who any of these people are. Well, that's when you start to beg the question, well, how do we even know that these are people? How do we even know that this is even real? But nobody was questioning that in the beginning of streaming because that was just unfathomable. It was like, no, music has to be, recorded and made by people. But now AI enters the chat. And now AI very rapidly figured out how to make songs that are as good as anything that people used to spend, $100,000 on a recording studio back in the 1970s to make. And 80s. I mean, it was pretty expensive to record music in the 70s and 80s. It got a lot cheaper as time went on. Technology evolved. So I guess my point is that if the listeners who are seeking that human connection, if they say, well, you know what? Now that I know AI can make music, is streaming really how I want to digest music? And maybe there's a time and a place for that. Like I said, when you're sweeping and, doing your dishes and taking the trash out and you just want background noise, or if you just want music to play, if you own a hotel or a nightclub or a bar and you just want, vibe music playing over the system so people can come and enjoy the drinks and talk. There's plenty of different casual atmosphere places where streamed music will make sense. But for the people that are looking for human connection that now have to question the legitimacy of the music and whether or not it was made by an actual person, they're going to start questioning whether or not streaming sites is where they want to get their music. And then you could say, well, then where are they going to go to get it? Music videos, those could be fake too. Sure, AI could easily, not as good yet, but probably very shortly we'll be able to do that too. I know that people have spent countless hours with the current AI video making software to be able to make music videos that look pretty believable. For artists, they've succeeded. It's a lot of time and energy, but it's happened. But no, I think that what's going to happen is that you're going to have a lot of people that want that raw, unfiltered, real music again that we had in the 1700s. People are going to want to get back to, I want to go and see music, and live performances are going to be the new thing. And so what I would stress to anyone who's doing music right now, and I can't say this enough, for the longest time, because of technology and streaming, artists were giving up their live show money and a percentage of their live show money and their merchandise to the record labels because they knew that, well, the live thing is dead. A lot of people don't really want to go to live shows anymore. People just want to stream music and they want to go and see music, on reels and things like that. And so you were like, yeah, I'll just give them a percentage of my live show money. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. In fact, that is now, if you're talented, meaning you can go and perform without auto-tune and without rhythm correction and can actually play instruments for real and be able to put on a show in front of a crowd for real, that has way more value now than it ever has since the dawn of technology and recording music. That's right. You now have way more value. And so therefore, what I would recommend and what I would suggest to people right off the rip is that if you're an artist, focus on your live content. If you're somebody who is not that talented and you needed tricks in the studio, you're crushed. You're crushed because AI can do what you do better. And no one cares. No one needs you now. Anyone who just wants to hear something that was just produced, super produced and filtered and recorded, you're done. You're toast. Because at the end of the day, AI can do what you do. People that have no talent can make a song that's better than you on their own. But if you are profoundly talented at playing the guitar, at singing really well, if you're profoundly talented at those things, then that adds an entirely new value again to the live show. And what I would recommend is that you become a performer. And yes, you could still put recorded music on the internet. And when people see you performing and they're mind blown by what you do, that is going to make them choose to want to listen to your music when they're by themselves because of that human connection that they can't get from the other music over and over and over again. If you're looking for an example, listen to Sleep Token. Sleep Token is a prime example. They're one of the most successful rock bands on earth. They are real. They're not AI. They are people. And the music that they make is so beautifully done and relatable to people that people are just beside themselves because of the connection they feel to the people. And they wear masks. No one even knows what they look like. Well, unless you've went down that rabbit hole. But if you put your money into AI-generated music, then yes, there'll be a base for that. It'll thrive. If you don't stream it, though, if you don't buy it, if you don't support it, then it doesn't win. Markets respond to behavior. And if people continue to support real artists and go to the shows and buy the merch and, listen to humans share their stories through music, then the incentives adjust. If the record industry says, man, the live shows are making way more money right now than the streaming music, then what is that going to do? That's going to make them have to find more talented artists that can do more talented things live. But again, if you're an artist, you don't want to sign away your rights to your live show anymore. If you're really good live, you need to hold all that. Hold all of that, because recorded music and live music are now something very different. I mean, they were always something different, but I mean, I mean, they're now in different categories of industry. They are now in different categories of industry. So companies follow money and platforms follow engagement. And the culture follows meaning. Always has, always will. So AI can be a tool and it can help certain artists. I don't know how much. I guess it can expand on your creativity, but not really, because it's kind of removing all creativity. But it doesn't replace the reason why most people listen to music and why it exists in the first place. Music will survive as long as people choose connection over convenient background sound. That part is still up to us.